It all began on a silent night beneath a sky heavy with clouds. In the middle of nowhere, a man named Flugar stood alone, digging into the cold, damp soil. His movements were rushed, almost desperate, as if he were afraid of being seen. The hole before him looked disturbingly like a grave. And then, without warning, lightning tore through the sky. A blinding flash struck the ground near him, hurling his body backward. He slammed against his truck, gasping for air, trembling from head to toe. But instead of fear, he smiled. Whatever had just happened, Flugar believed it had changed him. And he was right. Not far from there, in a quiet town, lived a shy high school boy named Kelly. Kelly wasn't like other teenagers. He kept his head down, avoided eye contact, and barely spoke in class. Every day felt like a battle he had no armor for. That afternoon, he stopped by a small convenience store to buy something to eat. As he stepped outside, he accidentally bumped into someone. It was Dominique, the girl he had secretly admired for years. She was kind, confident, and always surrounded by friends. Today, she stood beside her best friend, Sarah. When their eyes met, Dominique smiled warmly, but Kelly froze. His heart raced, his hands trembled, and before he could say a single word, he turned away. Because Kelly carried a secret, a terrible one. He suffered from a strange eating disorder, one that forced him to consume things that were not food: metal, paper, plastic, anything. And that secret was about to be exposed. From behind the store, laughter echoed. Nelson, Reed, Tony, and Brad, 4 boys who ruled the school with cruelty, had been watching. They caught Kelly in the act, mocking him, filming him, calling him names. When Dominique tried to defend him, they shoved Kelly headfirst into a trash bin, recording everything while laughing. Kelly didn't fight back. He never did. Luckily, the store owner intervened and chased them away, but the damage had already been done. At home, Bernice lived in a worn-down trailer with her son. She worked long hours, barely scraping by, yet always tried to protect her son from the cruelty of the world. But Kelly's illness was getting worse. A doctor visited and told them something painful. Kelly's illness wasn't physical, it was psychological, and he needed a specialist. Meanwhile, somewhere else in town, an elderly Native American man named Red Elk was performing a ritual, quiet, ancient, and deeply spiritual. He felt something had been disturbed, something powerful, something sacred. Back on the streets, Flugar had begun telling people he could heal them just by touching them. No medicine, no machines, just his hands. People laughed at first. Then a woman with a leg injury stepped forward. Flugar placed his palm gently on her knee, and in front of everyone, she stood up, healed. The crowd gasped. Whispers turned into belief, and belief turned into worship. When Bernice heard about this miracle man, she rushed to him, begging him to help her son. Flugar agreed, but Red Elk soon confronted him. He warned Flugar that the power he carried did not belong to him. It had belonged to his people for generations, and anyone who abused it would suffer terrible consequences. Flugar laughed. He refused, and he left with Bernice. When Flugar arrived at Kelly's trailer, he demanded payment before helping. Then he touched Kelly. Suddenly, his face twisted in pain. He rushed to the bathroom, coughing, shaking, pale. Moments later, he returned, looking worse. He touched Kelly again, and this time, Flugar collapsed, dead. Kelly woke up later. For the first time in years, he felt hungry. Not compelled, not sick, just hungry. Bernice noticed something else. The scar on his chest was gone. The next morning, he accidentally cut his finger. It healed instantly, completely. He tried to tell his mother, but she didn't fully believe him. She was just happy that her son finally seemed normal. But Kelly knew something inside him had changed forever. That same day, Kelly ran into Dominique again. She noticed he looked different, healthier. Before he could answer, Red Elk suddenly appeared and struck him with a stick. But instead of hurting Kelly, the pain rebounded. Red Elk fell to the ground, shocked, terrified, and he ran. Later, Kelly showed his mother the truth. When she pinched him, she felt the pain instead. When he touched fire, it didn't burn him. Bernice could only stare in disbelief. Her son was no longer ordinary. At school, something strange happened. Kelly picked up Dominique's hairband and gently handed it back. In his imagination, he pictured a warm, comforting moment. But in reality, Dominique felt something unusual. So did Sarah. A sudden warmth, a strange sensation. Neither of them understood what was happening. Kelly panicked and ran out of the classroom, confused, afraid, unaware of what his power truly was. And that night, everything would change. That night, the sound of waves crashing against the shore filled the air, blending with distant laughter and the low hum of passing cars. Kelly arrived at the beach by accident, his mind still tangled with confusion after what happened in class. He didn't understand his power, didn't know its rules, and most of all, didn't know what it could do to others. But fate had other plans. Near the water, under the faint glow of streetlights, he saw Dominique. She was being bothered. Nelson and his friends surrounded her, teasing her, blocking her path, laughing as if her discomfort were nothing more than a game. Sarah stood beside her, clearly uneasy, trying to stay calm but failing to hide her fear. And then Kelly stepped forward. His heart pounded in his chest, but this time he didn't look away. He didn't run. He stood between them. The boys mocked him, just as they always did. They pushed him, threatened him, called him names, but Kelly didn't flinch, because for the first time in his life, he wasn't afraid. Their father, Gus, who also happened to be the school's coach, soon appeared. He told his sons to back off, but his warning was cold, sharp, and full of unspoken menace. As Kelly rode away on his bike, anger burned inside him like never before. Brad and the others followed him in their sports car, swerving dangerously close, laughing as they tried to scare him. The headlights flashed wildly, the engine roared, and suddenly, Kelly lost control. He fell, and the car hit him. But instead of Kelly screaming in pain, Brad did. When the others jumped out, they found Kelly standing, not a scratch on him. Brad, however, was badly injured. Terrified, they fled, leaving him behind. Later that night, as Kelly changed his clothes, he watched his wounds disappear before his eyes, skin closing itself as if time were reversing. Dominique and Sarah soon found him near the abandoned car, confused, shaken, and desperate for answers. Kelly told them everything, about Pfluger, about the power, about the pain that bounced back. They didn't know whether to believe him until the police arrived, and Bernice, and the sheriff. The boys lied, claiming Kelly had caused the accident. Kelly said nothing. He didn't know how to explain the impossible. The next morning, Dominique tried to give Kelly subtle hints, hoping he would ask her out. He didn't understand, so she finally did it herself, and Kelly's heart nearly exploded. But while he was dreaming of happiness, the bullies were planning revenge. That evening, Kelly was with his mother when she suddenly began to feel unwell. Without hesitation, he grabbed his jacket and headed out to get her medicine. He didn't know he was being watched. As soon as he left, Nelson and his friends acted. They tied chains to the base of the trailer, attached them to their truck, and pulled. The trailer crashed down violently. Inside, Bernice screamed. A gas leak filled the air. Moments later, the trailer exploded. Kelly returned just in time to pull his mother from the flames, but it was already too late. At the hospital, Kelly sat in silence, holding his mother's belongings. The sheriff returned them gently. Red Elk tried to explain the power, the curse, the history. No one believed him. Kelly had lost everything. Later, he ran to Pfluger's grave. Dominique followed him. She told him it wasn't fair that he had to go through this alone, and for the first time, he kissed her. The kiss he had dreamed about for years. But then she realized something. She remembered the strange sensation from class, and suddenly she understood. Scared, she stepped back, said goodbye, and walked away. Kelly tried eating the leaves from Pfluger's grave, but he immediately threw up. Sarah watched from a distance and remembered. The sheriff later took Kelly to a temporary home. On the way, he mentioned something strange. The trailer's supports had been tampered with. Kelly saw the boys driving past, his heart filled with rage, and he jumped out of the car. By the river, he confronted them. Tony ran into the water. Kelly grabbed a piece of his shirt and focused. Suddenly, Tony began sinking. Nelson pulled him out, but it was too late. One of them was gone. The others ran. Kelly stood there, shaking. The sheriff arrived, and Kelly fled. That night, Kelly went to Dominique. He told her everything about the revenge, about the anger, about the darkness growing inside him. She begged him not to become like them, not to kill, to make them confess instead. Kelly listened, barely. The next day, he provoked Tony at school. Enraged, Tony threw chemicals at him, but they splashed back, burning Tony's own face. Sarah punched Kelly, and for the first time, he felt real pain. Kelly finally understood. His power didn't make him invincible, it made him dangerous. That evening, Sarah told Nelson about the leaves. They believed they were Kelly's weakness, and they were right. And now, everything was heading towards its final tragedy. Morning arrived quietly, but the world no longer felt calm. Red Elk stood before the authorities, asking for permission to open Pfluger's grave. His voice was steady, his eyes filled with ancient sorrow. He spoke of balance, of sacred forces, of a power that never should have been taken. They did not fully believe him, but they allowed it. Meanwhile, far from there, Gus was training his son Nelson, pushing him harder than ever, his words filled with anger, shame, and fear. He wanted his son to be strong. He wanted him to survive what was coming. Because deep down, Gus knew something was wrong. Not long after, the sheriff discovered the chain used to destroy Bernice's trailer. It led directly to the boys. As he approached them, Kelly was already there, quiet, shaking, holding back a storm inside him. He sneaked into their truck, found a drill, and swallowed something strange. His old habits, the ones he thought were gone, suddenly returning. Nelson stood there, holding the container filled with leaves from Pfluger's grave, smirking, confident. But Kelly did something no one expected. He drilled into his own body, and Nelson screamed, feeling every bit of that pain, unable to escape it, unable to deny it. And finally, he confessed. The sheriff tried to calm Kelly, admitting he knew about the power, about the impossible things he had seen. Dominique arrived, just as Gus rushed forward. But when Gus tried to stop Kelly, he was thrown back violently by the power he didn't understand. Desperate, Nelson sprayed the liquid from the leaves onto Kelly. For the first time, Kelly felt weak. Dominique rushed forward, wiping it away, trying to save him. Gus grabbed the sheriff's gun, aiming, shaking, and then he pulled the trigger. But instead of killing Kelly, the bullet rebounded, killing both himself and his son. In an instant. Silence followed. The world seemed to freeze. Kelly collapsed, screaming, crying, begging. That night, Red Elk prepared the ritual. He told Kelly the truth. The power had bonded with him too deeply. Removing it would kill him. Kelly tried to run, tried to escape his fate, but in the chaos, a gun went off, and Dominique was struck. Kelly held her, blood soaking his hands, tears blinding his eyes. She looked at him, smiled weakly, and whispered, "Don't give up your power. Make it mean something." And then she died. Kelly broke. Everything inside him shattered. The power had taken everyone, his mother, his love, his future. So he made a decision. If the power could not be removed, then it would end with him. He returned to Pfluger's grave, took the heart, and consumed it. Suddenly, every pain he had ever reflected, every injury, every suffering, came crashing into him at all once. His body trembled, his vision blurred, and as he held Dominique's lifeless hand, Kelly died. Later, their bodies were transported away, covered, silent. The world believed the story was over. But then, Dominique opened her eyes. She gasped, sat up, alive. Her gaze was no longer warm, no longer gentle. It was cold, focused, burning with something new. The power had chosen her, and this time, it had chosen vengeance. And that is where this story truly ends.